So the final topic for this module is going to be kind of going back to policy evaluation. So we kind of saw part of this way back in, I guess it was chapter 2, I think it was chapter 2, where we talked about how we can use these binary variables that we first introduced in chapter 2 as kind of a way to do policy evaluation, where we can think of some treatment variable. It equals 0 if you didn't get treated, or you didn't get this policy applied to you, and 1 if you were treated. Kind of talked about how this was one way to think about how to measure the effect of some policy. Well, we can have kind of two situations. The first thing that could happen is that we could have random assignment. So if we have random assignment to treatment, then we could have some regression that y equals beta 0 plus beta 1 times treatment plus u. And if we had random assignment, then by definition, I was looking for another color there. So if random assignment, RA for random assignment, I just had it already written there. That means the expectation of the expectation of u given treatment equals 0 by definition, right? If you're randomly assigning treatment, then by definition we've kind of satisfied this big assumption that we've been struggling with for a lot of the course, right? And so we're going to get beta hat, or the expectation, I should say. I'm bad at smudging today, sorry. The expectation of beta hat equals the true value, right? So we're getting an unbiased estimate of the treatment effect, or intent to treat effect. We're making certain assumptions about what the people actually go through with treatment and things like that we don't want to get too far into right now. So we don't even have to add in other variables, but maybe we want to. So even with just treatment as the only x variable, if we have if we've assigned treatment randomly, we can get an unbiased estimate. May still want to add more independent variables. Because even if you're getting an unbiased estimate, remember that the variance, and I'm just going to put T for treatment down there, equals sigma hat squared 1 minus r squared u times SST of treatment, I guess. So, there should be no or really small amounts of correlation between our treatment variable and any other variables we add. But by adding more x's, so we're not going to blow up the variance because r squared u, there's going to be some correlation maybe, but shouldn't be a lot. But what we get by adding more variables in, more independent variables that maybe explain y very well, is that our residuals are going to get smaller, right? Which means that the sum of squared residuals get smaller, which is part of this sigma hat squared, right? Because this is SSR over n minus k minus 1. So if we add some variables that really explain lots of y, that's, we're going to have an unbiased estimate no matter what, but what we can do is get maybe a more precise estimate, right? It's increasing the efficiency of our estimate because it's decreasing the variance. So even if we have random treatment, we probably still want to add these other variables in to get this variance of this treatment effect smaller. But we kind of covered this random treatment and stuff like that before. Let's now talk about non-random assignment and a couple issues with non-random assignment. So let's talk about non-random treatment and a big issue with non-random treatment, which is, one of these issues that is really hard to deal with in economics in general. So let's think about if treatment is not assigned randomly. Well, that means kind of people can choose whether to participate or not. And that's going to bring out certain problems. So let's imagine that we're interested in, there's a lot of prison programs aimed at increasing education. And the idea is that if someone increases their education, maybe lowers their chance of recidivism or coming back to prison. So things like the Barred Prison Initiative, it's a college in the States that's gone into some of the prison systems and trying to educate prisoners in the hope that that would kind of raise their potential wages and stop them from coming back to prison. Maybe giving them an opportunity that they haven't had. And so maybe we're interested on the effect of wages. Our population is prisoners, and we're thinking about different things that might affect their wages. And one thing might be, their years of experience and experience squared. Maybe we have, maybe, we might have race that affects, your wages. So this would pick up things like, discrimination and things like that. So maybe we have variables for Black and Hispanic. Maybe we have a variable for whether you're a citizen or not, because that's probably going to affect your future wages. But let's say that we're really interested in the effects of this final variable, this GED. And so this is what we're interested in. We're interested in the effects of getting a GED in prison. So lots of times we have these programs in prison where prisoners can earn their GED, their high school equivalent, within the prison system. And we're interested in how that affects their future earnings. So things like the Barred Prison Initiatives are kind of college level courses. So we could do all levels of education. But we're really interested in the effect of this policy of offering GEDs to prisoners. We're really interested in how that's affecting their wages. Or we're interested in whether it's affecting their recidivism, could be something else there. Now, let's think about the issue. So it's probably non-random assignment. I set it up there, but use a different color since that one doesn't work in the greatest. People choose whether to engage, whether to participate in this program. So the prison's offering this high school equivalency program, and our population's just people without a high school degree. And the people in the prison are deciding whether they want to get treatment. So that equals 0 if they don't get a GED through this program, and 1 if they do. And it's non-random assignment because people are choosing whether to do this program or not. Well, this is going to create issues. And what we might call this is self-selection, or what we're going to call this is self-selection. The people are self-selecting into whatever group gives them the highest returns. So if you think about people that are more likely to want to do this GED program in prison, there may be going to be people that are more motivated. They might be people that have more education in terms of their background. They have more, they're up to grade 10 or 11 rather than, grade 7 or 8. But it's different types of people are choosing to participate. So individuals who choose to participate in the program may be fundamentally different than those who do not. So the people who are going to choose to do this GED program are the people who actually think that they're going to get the highest returns from doing this GED program, right? This is a problem of just maximization, of utility maximization. We could think of this same problem being in school. You know, we keep talking about calculating the returns to education, but these are choices you're making about how many years of education you should get. It's not randomly assigned. You're choosing how many years of education to get. And the people who choose to get more years of education are probably the people that get the greatest returns to education. And so it's really actually very, very difficult to measure their returns to education because of this selection issue. We're just kind of describing it in a different way with this GED program. But the people who choose to engage in this GED program are the people who are most likely to get the most out of this program. That's why they're choosing to do it. Someone who's not going to get a big return, to doing this GED program in terms of wages is not going to bother to do it. And so what that means is that maybe we're going to overestimate the effect of this GED program. Because everyone who participates are people that are most likely to get the most out of this program. That means that the average kind of returns to this program might be really high, but they're not indicative of the wider returns to this program for the entire, maybe prison population. They're just indicative of those people who chose to engage in this program. This is the self-selection issue, and it's a huge issue in economics, and it's going to be really difficult if the selection is on unobservables. If people are choosing to do this program due to, characteristics that we as economists or econometricians don't see, then it's going to be harder to deal with. And we think of ways to deal with that. And those are kind of more advanced techniques about how we can think about dealing with those.